Hey guys, Captain Smash, Master Strength Lab, Ottawa, Ontario. So today's topic is all about fat loss and fat loss hormones and how they influence us in our pursuit of losing excess body fat. So, there's a lot of things going on with body fat, and predominantly it's all about calories in, calories out. How much are you taking in, how much are you burning off? But there's more to that equation, and some of your hormones will help out with this. So your big three are going to be insulin, your catecholamines, and ANP. This is kind of a new one, so there's not a whole lot that's known about that one, but it's been found to be super positive in terms of lipolysis or burning body fat. So let's go into insulin. Insulin is still going to be number one in terms of fat burning responses within the body. Number one, because when insulin is high, you can have a 50 to 90% drop in your overall rate of lipolysis. So you're not burning any fat. So this is by far the most important thing that I've found for most people that are trying to lose excess weight, is that if they're constantly spiking up their insulin levels, you're constantly storing more fuel, right? Insulin is a storage hormone. It's basically lock and key. Insulin gets released after you eat something and opens up those cells. So 3 predominant cells that it opens up in either the liver, the muscle, or body fat. Now, if you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, you're gonna have a tough time controlling insulin levels, because carbs really spike up insulin levels. Not only the type of carbs, but also the amount of carbs that you're eating, like the carbohydrate load. You eat 1 or 2 carrots, not a very big deal on the insulin response, but you eat a pound of carrots, you're gonna have a really big insulin spike. Now, this also occurs with mixed meals that are consuming a lot of carbs, protein, and fat at the same thing. So think pizza. Pizza, obvious choice, but you're gonna have a very high insulin response with pizza. Now, you wouldn't expect to lose a lot of body fat if you're eating a lot of pizza, but if you're, overdoing it on any sort of carbohydrates, it's pretty much the same thing for the body. You're still spiking that insulin level up, and you're gonna have a tough time losing body fat. So for most people, that is going to be the key regulator in terms of losing weight very quickly. And this is one reason why the keto diet is so popular right now, because when all you're eating is protein and fats, the insulin level is very blunted, because protein does not stimulate a large amount of insulin spikage, and neither does fat. Fat by itself has virtually no insulin response altogether. So, the people that are following this pretty closely are generally losing a pretty good amount of body fat, but they stall. And that's a topic for another blog post, so I won't get into that. There's nothing wrong with keto, but it does have some pros, it does have some cons. So we'll get into that later. The catecholamines, okay? Catecholamines are things like adrenaline and norepinephrine. These are your fight or flight hormones that make you, kind of ready to move, ready to run away from a bear, ready to fight the bear. So these things get activated by exercise and periods of stress, where we're like, we drive out in traffic and like, oh my God, traffic's all over the place, and oh, my catecholamines are going crazy and it spikes up my heart rate. These things help us burn more fat, and they're stimulated by, well, you guessed it, exercise. Hard physical exercise stimulates the adrenaline and norepinephrine, which acts on the beta-adrenergic receptors all throughout the body. Now, you're gonna have different levels of receptor sites all over the place, but so think, the adrenaline response is going to act on these receptor sites to increase the amount of stimulation that you get. So increasing heart rate, increasing breathing rate, sweating, blah, blah, blah. So these are proactive because they also help burn more fat. So this is a good thing. ANP, this one is released by the heart. Now, I'm not super solid on all the research, because I don't think there's been a lot of research done. I've read a couple studies and not very conclusive. However, it does stimulate the blood pressure and water regulation within the body, but also has a profound effect on lipolysis through a different mechanism than, say, the beta-adrenergic receptors. So that's kind of a cool thing, and it is also stimulated by exercise. So exercise is our key ingredient for stimulating more fat loss by influencing these hormones. And also food intake is what stimulates insulin response. So now, the big takeaway here is the insulin response, if it is high, all these catecholamines and ANP are gonna drop down very low. So we're not gonna have very much fat response. So if I'm trying to burn off a lot of body fat and I wanna exercise in the morning, it does me very little good to eat a banana and a bagel before I go work out. Why? Because my insulin response just spiked up after I ate that bagel. My body is used to burning off body fat if it doesn't have enough fuel. So think of insulin kind of like a fuel regulator, okay? You've got your fat stores, which are kind of like your reserve tank, and you've got your insulin, or the food that you just ate, which insulin is going to be turned on by the food that you just ate, okay? If your fuel gauge is full with food that you just ate, your body's gonna burn that off first. It's not gonna bother with going into your reserve tank. You're not low enough yet. If you eat something that's very low on the insulin response and your fuel gauge is tipping towards empty and you get into a workout, it's gonna have to pull from your reserve tank more. This is why we see such a profound effect with people exercising in the morning on either an empty stomach or consuming something like a tablespoon of peanut butter or something just to get through their workout, coffee, something like that. Just enough to kind of get into the mode of exercise, and then you're burning more percentage-wise body fat during that time period. So, also, key point, if you're always stimulating this insulin response, you're not going to burn off a lot of fat. Why? Because your body's always storing, it's always using that fuel that you just put into your tank. So your goal into losing more body fat is get out of the insulin response, get your tank close to zero, okay? You still need a little bit, just kind of spike that fire to start it up. But then you want to be pulling out of your reserve tank more and more. That way you're burning more body fat overall. So key takeaways, insulin is still number one. It's still going to burn the most percentage of body fat if you keep it low. Okay, your catecholamines, those are also going to help you. If you're stimulating your catecholamines through exercise, you're going to get a big boost in adrenaline and norepinephrine that will help you burn off more body fat. And then ANP, also driven by exercise, it's going to stimulate a little bit of lipolysis through a different means, but it's still going to have a good effect. So those are our primary hormones. If you have any questions, please let me know. And if you like this video,